Our next Disneyland secret from Fresh Baked occurs right here in New Orleans Square. New Orleans is one of the largest ports in the United States, and it was therefore reasonable that they'd want to incorporate some kind of boating theme into the area. But as it turns out, it's kind of a small area. It's not very big, and there's neighboring lands that sort of inhibit the ability to put a boat. Just look around you. Where are you going to put a boat around here? You've got Adventureland and Critter Country on either side, and there's just not a lot of room for that. The Rivers of America help the solution a little bit, but not quite as much as you'd think. I mean, it's nice that you've got some waterfront there, but really the view that you're getting when you look upon the Rivers of America is not one of New Orleans Square, but more of an aged look, a frontierish look at that area as opposed to a more contemporary New Orleans Square. Really the best way to feel a part of New Orleans or feel like you're immersed into the theming, into the city, is to either be right in it, like this, or if you want to get a larger view of the land, you can stand out in front of it and see the whole picture. And it's from here we're going to see our next secret of Disneyland. Right over the top of Pirates of the Caribbean, on top of the buildings in the background there in New Orleans Square, you'll see a ship mast and sails. Frozen in time.
Yeah.
You guys want to see where that is for real? All right, I'm going to show you a Google Map version of the mast and sails on top of the New Orleans Square buildings. If you don't want, the magic spoiled for you, just click right here and you can skip ahead a few seconds. But here's a shot overhead. I mean, it's kind of indiscreet, right? It's just sitting there on top along with all the air conditioning vents and things like that. Don't worry if you didn't click that. Magic still works plenty fine if you know it's there. In fact, it's kind of hard to notice on a casual basis. I mean, even preparing for this Disneyland secret video, I had to kind of look for it. So there's not a lot known about the history of that mast or why it's there or how it came to be. There's nothing really formally published in any kind of Disney book or on their website or anything like that. From what I understand, the story goes something like this. There was an artist named Herb Ryman who worked for Disney. He did a lot of concept art for the parks, for development of the attractions. One of Herb's assignments was to do some concept work, and they asked him to paint a couple scenes from which they could base the attraction on. In those paintings, Herb included a ship and mast behind the buildings in the back, right about there in the middle. And these were included to add to the illusion that this was a port city. Now keep in mind, this was not just supposed to be a painting of New Orleans, but an actual concept art from which to base the land on. So when they originally started building the land, the idea or the plan was to include some sort of mast and sails, but for whatever reason, those were not added originally to the park. And the story goes that when Fantasmic was created, they needed to add some additional lighting that had to originate from the tops of those buildings in New Orleans Square. And they felt like they needed to obscure those lights, and they asked one of the Disney Imagineers to come up with a scheme to do that, to hide or mask the inclusion of these lights that were going to be put up on the top of those buildings. And of course, the Disney Imagineer who was assigned to this task was a fan of Herb Ryman and his original paintings and was aware of the mast and sails that he included on there. And he immediately thought, well, what a brilliant idea. I'm going to put a mast and sails on top of those buildings to hide those lights. So what do you guys think? Cool, right? Don't forget, if you want to see this secret, you got to come to a very specific spot right here in New Orleans Square, right here in front of Pirates of the Caribbean.